Nudgyt uses AI to convert complex data into easy-to-understand nudges, motivating people into action with use cases in talent management, education, and customer care. Nudgyt won the PLDT-Smart Startup Innovation Challenge and is also one of Kubo's top 100. Kathleen Yu is the co-founder and chief data scientist at Nudgyt. Ehsan Alizada is the content and marketing strategist at Nudgyt. So hello, we're very honored to have you here in Startup Podcast.
Glad to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
It is exciting to be with you on the podcast. Thank you for having us.
Of course. So I'm very excited to learn more about Nudgyt. So let's start with ano ang Nudgyt or what is Nudgyt?
So Nudgyt is a behavioral science and artificial intelligence company. We basically build AI models that simplify how people make decisions. We do that through AI-driven nudges. So a nudge is basically a prompt or message that can inspire action. Right now, we have a lot of big data, but not a lot of information that people can use. Companies collect data, large amounts of data to make decisions, but very little is used because people can't process the information. So Nudgyt builds an AI partner that can work with a human decision maker to make that process a lot easier.
Yeah, it's actually true. No, as far as I know, so like the trend is that we have like now the technology is booming, and then we have sensors, we have cloud computing, we have even stronger capabilities to have more storage, to have more memory, and now ang dami ng information. So Nudgyt is trying to solve that problem or trying to use that information to make action. So I want to start with the story of Nudgyt, and I saw this in your website. So I think it's very powerful. It's the statement, "It's time to put an end to confusing corporate dashboards. Join us in this revolution." So revolution. So can you just share with us this problem of like digital corporate products that really sparked the creation of Nudgyt?
I think when you think about day-to-day experiences around data, especially for employees in the workplace, it's pretty challenging when, for example, you're in a hybrid work arrangement and you don't get to see your boss every day. And the challenge there is how does your productivity get monitored? How does your mental health get monitored? So we have tools that allow you or your manager to send nudges to really monitor how you're doing, how you're feeling, and whether you're basically doing well in a work arrangement. So that's one of the use cases for Nudgyt, actually.
Yeah.
And if I can add something to this, the complex dashboard, needs experts to analyze. Exactly. And it takes time, and it is so costly for corporate leaders to make sense of data and to analyze and to make actions in time. So if we just reflect on the pilot Sally who landed on the river in the New York, the Hudson River, he just made decision just with that data that he had at the time, and then he could make the right decision. Otherwise, all the passengers could die. So he just had a little data, both the engines were off, and then what he just had a little data, and it's all about making decision in time. How could you make your mind correctly and in time? Yeah,
exactly. So it's less about having a lot of data and more about having the right data to make the right decision at the right time. So that's really the problem we're solving with AI.
It's very interesting. Actually, I'm also a machine learning and AI researcher, and as far as I know, like most of the AI research then and most of the AI solutions, they're oriented towards improving the accuracy and the power to collect more data and the speed, pero less about interpretability and less about like actually using the data into action. So I think that's also like what Nudgyt is doing. So can you just explain this more clearly, like how really AI and behavioral science come into play towards solving these problems? I mean, how do you interpret the dashboards? I mean, how does AI really like come into play for these dashboards?
So the way it works is we collect the data. Anybody who has an Excel sheet can use our products. You can link it to Google Sheets or anything. The approach is really to make the data as usable as possible. So they can upload the sheet, and then our dashboard generates something called a conditional nudge. So something like, if, for example, my target sales is higher than or lower than actual sales, send me a nudge.
I see.
If employee wellness is lower than, let's say, retention or other factors, send a nudge as well. So what it does is it puts the data to work. So instead of having a process where you're just collecting data, generating insights, how it works is the data gets put to work for you. So Ehsan has been working on a project with a few fintech companies actually, primarily to use nudges to increase compliance for borrowers who need to pay back their loans. So Ehsan, could you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. With that being said, you need to get ready for the different ways of doing business after the pandemic. So people all over the world, somehow stressed. So when we make decision, it might be sometime because of our mood or we are in different kind of situations. So based on our circumstances, it's not sometimes right, it's not sometimes rational. So how can we push the right message to the end user so it can be accurate and rational? So get the people engaged and connected, help them accountable and responsible by interacting with them, asking how their day is, offering help. So kind of using some tools that is reliable, that is scientific, proven, that helps human. So the aspects of human and AI, how they can work in harmony to help each other. That's the coolest part of using artificial intelligence in that. For example, in the fintech aliens, if we make people to pay back or encourage them, in other words, not forcing them, because they might get it negative. So like it's something a negative message. We should use something that considering the behavioral science and how to influence, like saying the consequence is not directly, hey, if you don't pay, this will happen to you. Your bank account will be closed, or you will not have a good life. Something that like that make the situation worse. So the AI is smart enough to say or to articulate or to tailor the message as a nudge, saying that making the consequences more meaningful to the user, and the user will be encouraged to pay.
Yeah, so just to add a bit around that, we're actually testing the product for a few fintech companies in the Philippines. And right now, the challenge is most companies, whenever someone doesn't pay off the loans on time, it's something bad's gonna happen, something negative, pay now or I'm gonna sue you. But alternatively, we're using nudges to interact with the borrower instead. So instead of only reminding when the loan hasn't been paid, we use the AI-driven nudges to help the borrowers build better habits around their finances. So here's how you can build better habits. If you pay a little bit now, maybe you can get a Starbucks gift card. So those are really how behavioral science can be applied to day-to-day decision making. It's really about empowering people to make better choices, as opposed to just, here's the 99% probability that this person will default or so on. It's really about putting the human in the loop, as Ehsan mentioned, by making the consequences meaningful.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So it's like it's more than automating quality and rational decision making. It's also like using AI, using artificial intelligence to somehow manage and to somehow maybe empower the behavior of the actual people
Exactly.
na connected or using or being using Nudgyt. And so you mentioned use cases in fintech, but I also want to know, because I saw in the website, so there are also use cases in talent management, education, and customer care. So can you just expound, I mean, or maybe share some ideas on how these nudges can be used on these domains?
Okay, I'll let Ehsan take the talent management one. But for customer care, it's really about using nudges to motivate customers in terms of what products they're more interested in. So right now for marketing, it's really about the second sale and the after sale service, no longer about selling people that first product. So you get a lot of messages selling you stuff. It's a crowd already in terms of the messaging. What we do for customer care is we align customers to the products that they need based on how personal the need is for them. So, for example, we did a project with this spa company, and one of the things that happened is they wanted to match the right products to the right customers, but they also wanted to remind the customers when it was time to get another treatment. So nudge me when it's about time to get another facial, another spa treatment, and so on. Similar with students, we're exploring nudges around doing homework.
Amazing.
So if you're in a class of 50 students and you want to nudge your students to be more motivated to turn in their homework on time, you send a nudge to the student. 90% of your classmates have completed their homework already. You should get started. Yeah. So the talent management is our core. So I'll let Ehsan expound on it a little bit.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Kat. I give the example, as I work as a content strategist and marketing strategist for Nudgyt. I really love my job because what we do differently in Nudgyt is the communication style in the organization and the culture. Everybody is connected and engaged. Why? In hybrid situation, your technological tool, what you have, or your tool and resources determine employees' engagement and employees' productivity and employees' performance. So every day when I receive nudges from Miss Kat, I get more motivated. I feel engaged. I feel the belongingness. So this is my company. This is my job. This is my career. This is my life. This is, biggest part of my life. What I just passionately do to meet, to work and meet the deadlines, to work hard, because I'm encouraged already. So I think every managers have life as well. So, the life struggles and mood swings, we are human. So if they use the right tool and by the help of AI, they can do it very easily. It can be a piece of cake for them how to look after their employees and how to keep them, how to keep the good ones.
Yeah, that's
Ehsan is able to create his own nudges as well. So for example, if he wants to learn something from other team members, he can basically send out a nudge, have coffee with me, and here's my Google Calendar.
Oh yeah. That's the best part actually. Sometimes when I feel down, when I feel stressed, I have some problems, something didn't go well on my private life, and then I just open Microsoft Teams and interact with the AI, and it suggests me a good solution and recommending me how about if you have a coffee with your CEO. My CEO is very cool.
Yeah. I really like I think the keyword is engagement, because like it's a tool to engage the team to actually work together and to improve the what do you call this, like the synergy, so that the team can work more together. I'm actually also interested on that education part because I myself, I'm a teacher, I teach, and then I really like that idea na I don't. I mean, I'm less. I have less work to do in like the managing and like engaging the students. I mean, not particularly that I don't want to do it, but parang there's a tool, there's an AI to help on that part. But I also want to ask, because when we think of AI, we think of like machine, mechanical, something like that. So I mean, how do you ensure lang na it's still like personal, like the personal touch is still there?
I think there's a lot of talk right now about how AI is gonna take over human job and about how AI is the future. We have a different philosophy around it. We really look at how AI can collaborate and augment what makes people good in the first place. So it's really not just as a way for people and AI to collaborate and get smarter together. So I'm sure you've heard about the case with Facebook where they trained the facial recognition algorithm on different people's faces. But because it was Caucasians,
Yeah.
we didn't have enough data on African Americans and other races, so that when an African American person was actually tagged by the AI as a gorilla or an ape, primarily because of the bias of how we train AI right now. So what we try to do is we really involve people in the loop. For example, when we were talking about the nudge that Ehsan creates and him asking the AI on Microsoft Teams what would be the best way to go about things, it's really about the AI improving based on what Ehsan has been inputting into the system. It's really about humanistic AI, how to create an intelligence that takes the best parts of what it means to be human and augments it for the people who use it.
Can I add something? If we have a growth mindset, it's all about cognitive biases that stop people from being optimistic or looking to the AI as a tool or as a help or as a friend. If we have a growth mindset, we can keep up with the change, we can learn, and we can be utilizing or optimizing these tools to make the world a better place. Otherwise, we would be feeling like we are left behind because technology is taking our positions. Yeah, having the growth mindset help us to be in harmony with AI, with technology.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that, about training the data, and it's not just about in the training process. It's also in the richness and in the unbiasedness of the data. So we really have to collect data na it's really representative of the system we're trying to empower or to help. And I just remember, because it's like one of the recent trends in AI now. It's still not that popular. One of my favorite podcasters, Lex Friedman. I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Yeah, he's a very famous podcaster, mostly about AI. I always listen to him. I've listened to around more than 100 episodes of him, and one of his like advocacies is to make AI real, to incorporate love and to incorporate like really the humanism in AI. Yeah. So I'm really amazed, no, that Nudgyt is really doing that. Kumbaga, really synthesizing the human side and the AI side and making them work together. So with this, I want to ask, how did Nudgyt really start? I mean, what's really like the motivation or the birth of Nudgyt? So how did it start? I mean, how was the idea of combining these two things, human and AI, together? So can you just share some stories and some background behind Nudgyt?
Background of me, I used to study at UP Diliman as well. I basically started my first company called Rumarocket as a student, as a university student. And one of the things that really was very interesting was how people make decisions around data. So Rumarocket is a recruitment company. It's focused on making better decisions around that recruitment process. And one of the things I noticed was a lot of the big companies would look at someone's CV and they would use the CV as a starting point already on whether that person was a good candidate or not. When there are so many other dimensions of what makes a person a good worker. Somebody with a good attitude, somebody who's persistent, somebody who works very hard to get things done. So what I realized was the way people use data actually narrowed how they made the decision during the recruitment process. And that led to starting Nudgyt and the vision of really using Nudgyt's behavioral science, building it into an AI to build tools that help people make better decisions. So as Ehsan mentioned, there's so many cognitive biases, emotions that influence how we make decisions or how bad decisions are made. And what our vision and what our mission is really how can we simplify that? How can we make it better for the human in the loop? So how can we improve how people make decisions essentially?
Yeah, and I also want to ask a bit personal to Kathleen. So so you started not really on the AI, not really with an AI background. So I just want to ask that story of like going into AI. I mean just to share some experiences of like incorporating yung past background and going to the AI world somehow. And like even with Ehsan, so like even the story of maybe building the team and up to right now. So yeah, so can you just share that?
Ehsan's background is very interesting. I'll let him have his time as well because he has a very interesting background and a very interesting experience of how he got to working with us as well. For me, I started working with AI in 2012 as a student. So I was there for like a lot of the developments around prediction, optimizing, using a lot of data to train AI. My mom was a statistics professor, so the learning came quite well. It's really something that I taught myself because it was very interesting and it was something that made me curious. And for me, I really think AI is going to be the technology of the future and it's going to transform a lot of the way we work, the way we live, and everything around that. So let me pass it to Ehsan, but his background is a lot more interesting.
Yeah, definitely interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. So as Miss Kat mentioned about curiosity, I think that's the main thing that drives human mind towards something to explore more and to learn more and to see the result and say, wow, this is amazing. So whatever in life help us and give us a kind of an inspiration to be more creative and to be more productive and helpful to our environment, to help others as well. Why not? Yeah, why should we not taking the steps towards that and learn and improve it? The best part and the most important one is to work on that. How always it's a mindset. Always we can ask ourselves, how can I make it better? That was my objective, my vision in mind always. How can I be better? How can I do stuff faster? In less time, how can I do more? That's my story actually. Yeah. Work and the balance of, the thing that gives people stress is time. What I realize. So how can we make use of things that help us with time, time management and time optimization. So that's my curiosity about AI and technology help us do that.
Yeah, and let's just continue the story. So Nudgyt was born, and then Nudgyt now. So I just want to ask, where is Nudgyt now? So like, what are you doing right now? I mean, and like, what are the recent milestones? So I saw that Nudgyt actually won the PLDT-Smart Innovation Challenge in the Philippines. So can you just share some of those recent stories? So can we know like, where is Nudgyt now?
So I mentioned actually that we received funding from the Singaporean government to work on our technology. So that's why I'm currently based out of Singapore.
Congratulations.
We were able to raise Series A, pre-seed funding actually of a few million to basically grow the company and really build up on our competencies. We're looking forward to actually releasing our talent product this year. I think the milestones for us is really building strong processes in the organization to make sure that we can grow well. So the story of many a startup that didn't succeed is really about growing too fast, too soon, too much too soon. And for us, we're taking it one step at a time, one day at a time with the things we need to do. So one of the things, I guess, for young entrepreneurs, we see the success stories. We see the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world succeeding. And we don't pay attention to the other entrepreneurs who don't do so well. But the reality is entrepreneurship is a very difficult path. It's something that can succeed, can fail. But the important thing is to keep walking that path and to keep moving forward and to keep trying. So for us, I'm sure you can look forward to some of our products this year. Visit our website as well, the Nudgyt.com. So that's Nudgyt and UDGYT. And basically look at some of the things we have to offer. So we're looking forward to really making a splash by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Ehsan, do you have something to share?
I just want to add on what Miss Kat said about how Nudgyt is improving every day by combining behavioral science and machine learning to produce better products to help people and to help them be more productive and utilize resources. Just in short sentence, I just want to say Nudgyt is just a very intelligent system, Jarvis for your business.
Yeah. And also, so going into the future, so I just want to know, ano ba, or what is really the vision of Nudgyt? I mean, how do you see it affecting maybe the society and the Philippines, and not just the Philippines, like even the whole world in the future? So how do you see this? And maybe like AI as a whole. So maybe Kathleen and then Ehsan. So like, how really do you see Nudgyt and the synthesis of the humanistic side, behavioral science, and AI and machine learning? So how do you really see it affecting the future and your vision also?
I think there's a lack of trust with a lot of the AI systems right now, especially with Facebook. People have been collecting data, we've been making conclusions about the data we've collected, but data doesn't translate to who a person really is. Data is just one aspect of a person. So if you make a prediction about a person with that piece of data, what does it really tell you? How far can you go when you make those conclusions? Some people would say very accurate, some people would say maybe it's time for a bit of a change. So the time for a change, that's where we're at. We see it as rebuilding the trust that has been lost around AI. And we think that the path around that is really humanistic AI. So what it means is really you involve the person with the AI, the way you train the AI. You all constantly take into consideration how a person responds, reacts, and learns from the AI intelligence. So as Ehsan said, at the end of the day, it's really not about having so much data. When Sully was in the Hudson River, all he had was the knowledge that both his engines were not working, and he had to make a decision very quickly with what he had. And that's really what makes behavioral science very interesting to integrate with AI applications. Every day, people encounter that same situation in different forms. Maybe not as intense as Sully with different lives on the line, But we encounter that, we experience that every day. The challenge is what we make of it and how we build the tools to make us better. And I think AI, the next generation of AI at least, can be those tools to make people make better decisions.
Amazing. How about you, Ehsan? So can you
Yeah.
share?
Yeah. Something very important that is automation. So we bring some process to be automatic. So we bring ease to the processes and complicated process. Of course, there are some negative feedback, as Ms. Kat said, about technology, but people are reluctant in the first time. In the beginning, they don't like it, but slowly they realize that, oh, this is nice and cool. Who doesn't like automation? Who doesn't like doing much in less time, right? Yeah, that's the biggest part. I think we bring ease and we help people by automating or automation of some processes.
Yeah. In my point of view, so I just want to share a bit of my perspective. So it all started industrial revolution, but industrial revolution, it's more about mass production, mass distribution, mass supply chain. And AI, for me, it's actually a continuation, but AI is like mass decision making because you automate kumbaga, the decision making. I mean, we have sensors for data, collecting the data, right data and unbiased data, hopefully, and then turning that into decisions nga, and into actions. And I think yung next trend nga, I think it's also like where Nudgyt is putting itself. It's like yung human side, the heart of it, the soul, the emotion. Like, kasi industrialism parang maybe somehow nawala. I mean, the human side got lost in it because we want to work more, we want to be more efficient. But I mean, we can actually synthesize both. Being efficient, but still having that heart, but still having that human side. I really love that part of Nudgyt. That Nudgyt is actually doing that. Yeah. So yeah. So
I want to add one more thing. So how can we help? How people can get the most out of their data? So we live in the era that the world is moving fast towards technology. So how simply we can help? We are connected to the Microsoft libraries, and we are in partnership with Google also. So if a person wants to use that big data, analyze it, it's a big process and steps to take actions, as you said. So these things is simply just integrate into their system, and it is very easy, and the system learn by itself, and it grows by itself like a child, and learns daily, seeing how the behaviors of the person is. And the most coolest part is tailoring the personalized nudge based on the the suited one. It understands who is the tool talking to. The AI is smart enough to understand who is it talking to.
Yeah.
I think I agree with your perspective as well, Johnny, about humanistic AI. Like, humanistic is really, as Ehsan said, making things personal, making it authentic, building the trust relationship. So at the end of the day, technology has changed us for better or worse. And maybe it's about time we start changing the technology as well. We start making the tech more human at the same time.
Yeah, I really love that because I mean, in recent research, AI also artificial intelligence. Actually, in my point of view, then it's more of becoming like the rigor, the mathematics. Pero it's kind of less like being AGI, artificial general intelligence. I think that's also like what Nudgyt is trying to do, diba? Parang making it into a human, like not just nga. It's like the actions that the human or the AI entity does.
Yeah. And what makes a person human is our value system, the capacity to empathize with others, the capacity to understand how people are feeling. So maybe, who knows, the path we're on is actually the first step to giving AI its own value system. And that can lead to more opportunities moving forward.
Yeah, I really love that. No, so AI with value system, with ethics, with moral, with morality, such that yung decisions hindi lang rational, hindi lang logical, but also incorporated yung like I mean really being existing with the humans, existing together. Yeah,
Exactly.
so yeah, that's really amazing. I really love Nudgyt. I mean, I really believe in that, like the philosophy and the revolution, as you said earlier. So thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Ehsan. So let's just take this time to share or to promote, or if you want, if our listeners want to know more about Nudgyt, maybe they want to join the team, or they want to know more, or they want to know about the products and the services. So can you just share about them, or and where can they find more information?
So you can find out more about Nudgyt by going to our website. Again, that's Nudgyt with a Y, Nudgyt. Nudge it. We're hiring for data scientists. We're looking for psychology students as well. So we look forward to hearing more from you guys.
Ehsan, do you have anything?
Yeah. For those who are interested to know more, you can find us in social media as well. And then just type in the search engine, any search engine, Nudgyt, Nudgyt, and you will, or you can write to us like info@nudgyt.com.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kathleen and Ehsan. I really love this conversation, not just about AI, but the philosophy behind AI and what do we look forward to in the future with AI really not just changing the world with technology, but also like shaping and being together with humans. So I hope for a positive future, and I hope Nudgyt will also help bring us into that. So thank you once again, Kathleen. Thank you, Ehsan, for having this conversation at Startup Podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to our 11 patrons. This episode is super powered by NutriCoach, the all-in-one productivity tool for dietitians and nutritionists, and Benjoy's Food Products, the home of premium bacon ends, tapa, and tocino. This episode is powered by ePlayment and Interleukin. Support us at www.patreon.com/startuppodcastph.